call it people technology.
インテル入ってる。
Well, match 19 is where our attention lies on. Maruti Suzuki presents ESPN Cricket for T20 Time Out, powered by Intel. Two of Indian cricket's biggest names, Virat Kohli, MS Dhoni, two of the IPL's biggest franchises in RCB and CSK, take each other on at the Wankhede Stadium in Mumbai. It is 1 versus 2, so it couldn't get any better in terms of where the tournament stands at this stage, with 19 games played or 18 games played to watch Bangalore and Chennai, and what will be the first afternoon game and the last game in Mumbai of this year's tournament. Sanjay Manjrekar and Vettori with me. But just before we get into the cricket chat, it is testing times for a lot of you. We hope you're keeping safe. A message from all of us to our viewers, especially in India: do mask up in public, follow social distancing and self-sanitizing protocols, and if you're eligible, please take your vaccine as soon as possible. Right, we will put our attention to the cricket. If you are enjoying the IPL, we're here to cover it for you. And Sanjay and Dan are with me. So, news is from the Wankhede Stadium that MS Dhoni's won the toss. And interestingly, he's going to have a bat first. Sanjay, first afternoon game, you know the Wankhede Stadium more than anybody. What do you make of that call?
So no due factor, and afternoon completely changes the dynamics of the game, and the right call by Mahendra Singh Dhoni, because he'll bowl on a pitch that is rough. I trust Ajit Agarkar with his assessment of pitches, and this one is meant for turners, and you'll see that reflecting the selection also of the two teams. So right call, good toss to win, although it's not going to be as decisive, a toss outcome as it's for night games.
All right, fair enough. Now, as far as whether the selection of the teams indicates what the captains make of the surface, it certainly adds up with what Sanjay says for MS Dhoni's team, because Imran Tahir gets his first game. Dan, there was a comment from Dhoni that Moeen is not fit, and there's a little change in the makeup. So Bravo comes back in, and Imran Tahir comes in. Lungi Ngiri misses out, but RCB have gone the spinner short. Shahbaz Ahmed sometimes bowls, sometimes he doesn't. But they're playing an extra seamer in Navdeep Saini. So what can we get from that?
Well, I think RCB would have set up with Maxwell and even Dan Christian to take pace off the ball against CSK's left-handers, and obviously Moeen Ali missing out reduces one of those. But I think that's the biggest loss, the CSK missing out on Moeen Ali for what he's given in this tournament so far, and what he could possibly bring to an afternoon game as well, obviously with his bowling and batting. So he is a huge loss, and it's difficult to make up for that because of the balance that he provides. But I think that's the thing about CSK is all-rounders are never a problem for them. So if one all-rounder goes out, they can bring him in, and they'll look to use Bravo, maybe a little bit higher up the order. His pace off the ball will be important, and we all know what Imran Tahir can bring to the table. Even at his age, he's still one of the premier T20 spin bowlers around the world.
And Moeen Ali's had such a big impact on this year's CSK side, Sanjay, especially with how they've chosen to use him. How do they cope without him?
Big loss. Because when you look at CSK, the last game was actually one of the real turning points in the history of CSK, if I can sound a little dramatic, where, the team got over 200 runs and didn't need the services of Ambati Rayudu and Suresh Raina. Dhoni batted before them, Jadeja batted before them. So this team is changing, and Moeen Ali was largely instrumental for that, batting at number 3. So yes, a big loss, especially on this pitch where his off-spin bowling also would have been, very handy. But I'm surprised that they've gone back to Bravo, and Giri would have been maybe a little bit of a change from the bowler that they've picked only to take the pace off. But I guess MS has got really caught up in this taking the pace off thing. And when you look at every bowler in that team is somebody who can use the slowness of the pitch.
All right, so no Moeen Ali today. Help us understand this better, Sanjay. So no dew comes into these afternoon games at the Wankhede, right? Because if you have wrist spinner Imran Tahir, is there an advantage of bowling first if you win the toss and give him the afternoon conditions, or does that not change much? Your leg spinner can be effective even in the second innings.
Your leg spinner will be as effective in the second innings. I don't think it's going to suddenly disintegrate in the second half. There might be a little bit more help in the second half, unless there is some moisture to begin with, but the sun would have really dried up most of it. So not much of a change for Tahir. But then, the thing about setting a target versus chasing a target, so that kind of pressure would have come into play. So it's more the mental side of things as far as the pitch is concerned. it's not that much of a call, really, whether you want to bat first or bowl first.
All right. Now, interestingly, Moeen Ali Dan played such an important role for them at three. It looked like it was a conscious call from Chennai to add some power to the top three. In Ruturaj Gaikwad, Faf du Plessis, Suresh Raina, there could have been concerns. And clearly, Moeen at three told us that that's the way they wanted to go. You're playing RCB, perhaps the team of the tournament at this stage, and they're going to be chasing. How do they make up for that power now? Are we expecting someone else to bat at three today and not just Suresh Raina?
Well, I know there's been a clamouring for Sam Curran to move up the order.
Certainly over here.
Whether they can...
We've been going on and on about it.
And he gets pushed further down.
He'll bat 9. I think there's that option, but I think 3 is too high for Sam Curran. I think they'll look to give Suresh Raina an opportunity there and then float with the rest of their batting order like they always do. And Suresh Raina's probably had enough balls now within the tournament, within training, to think that he could step up for 1 or 2 games. So that'll be the starting point for it. And then this may be the game that we start to see Dhoni places hampering a little bit more on the batting side of things, and then mix and match with Sam Curran, even Shuttle Tucker and Dwayne Bravo. We could see them all over the place. So this is what CSK does, and this is what they have built up over the years, is that their batting order is prepared to bat anywhere, and they have a team ethos that they get on with it. They don't worry about it. A lot of other teams need set batting orders, but Chennai doesn't.
Yeah, one player we haven't mentioned much when we discuss this batting order is actually Ambati Rayudu, Sanjay, and he tends to he played a big role when CSK won in 2018, essentially opening a batting 3. It looks like his job is to just come and go hard. A couple of quick fire 20s and a first ball duck, just basically taking on the bowling from the first ball. Could he be the more tempting option at 3 ahead of a Suresh Raina?
Now, who'll open? It will be 2 right-handers.
Yes.
Yeah, and I don't think they'll send another right-hander at number 3. So that might actually outweigh the other logic that you're mentioning. So it's not really a big deal. Suresh Raina will come in at number 3, but it's nice to see Dhoni staying in the present now, and going with people who are in form. Moeen Ali got all the backing that he needed. I'd like to see Sam Curran bat up the order a little more. Nice that Dhoni batted in number 4 yesterday before Ambati Rayudu and Suresh Raina. So all those things are very interesting to see. So CSK, I think, have responded to the pitch well. RCB, I'm a little surprised, Raunak, that Navdeep Saini is playing, and they've left out somebody like a Shahbaz Ahmed with now more right-handers in the opposition in the top 6.
Navdeep Saini's inclusion, Dan, you know enough about Navdeep Saini. It was a bit of a surprise to some of us that Siraj was the only seamer. They went with capped seamer. They chose to put their faith in Harshal Patel. Now they've got Saini in the mix as well at the Wankhede Stadium. Is that a call to balance out the loss of Kane Richardson at this point? They've gone for Dan Christian, who's more of a batting all-rounder, you think?
Well, I think they may come unstuck because of Moeen Ali's lack of fitness. I think Saini would have been brought in for the pace against the likes of Moeen Ali, Suresh Raina, and even Ambati Rayudu. I think they would have wanted someone who could not scare them, but who could bowl quick, could use his bouncer and take them on the Wankhede. And without him there, that may lessen that a little bit. But I'm sure the planning was around, let's get pace into it. We still feel like we need a closer with the bat and Dan Christian. So they wanted to bring him in. But it feels like they wanted to go all-out pace against a top order that at times can be a little fragile against short pitch bowling.
There is that conversation that still goes on, Sanjay. Now no Moeen Ali, who's played it well to his credit, but Suresh Raina, there still seems to be a plan from opposing teams to attack him with the short ball.
And it works. And you could see that in that first game when Raina started off with a 50, there was a heavy dose of spin that he got, and that helped him, get off to a flying start. The very next game, the opposition realized pace is the way to go with Suresh Raina. But afternoon game, they still have somebody like Kyle Jamieson who can go at these guys with a short ball. Shardul Thakur has a pretty decent short delivery as well. So I would have gone with Shahbaz Ahmed purely because he's had one spell where he got the ball to really turn. So I can understand the logic of going after these 3 guys. Moeen Ali is not there anymore with pace, but they had options. So that is one thing I'm not coming to terms with Saini in an afternoon game and leaving out the left arm spinner who can spin the ball.
Yeah, I find it interesting that Dan says how there could have been a call to play because you've got a Moeen Ali. You want to use, the pace of Saini. We never hear as media. We're always waiting to hear for team news from teams well in advance. I'm trying to think now whether there's a deliberate attempt to just not reveal who's playing and who's not, even if there is a bit of an injury, because maybe it'll affect the selection of the opposing team. Dan, did that ever happen when you were part of IPA, when you were part of RCB?
I didn't pull that trick myself, but I did see. I see it. You watch warm-ups intently. You see who's wearing a bib, who's warming up harder than others. But I think most teams like the certainty around their selection. They want to understand if they're playing and they want to be able to build up well. But if you could see in the background Moeen Ali out of the team, then you may possibly think, well, that's one less left-hander. Shabazz Ahmed could come in. There's one less need for a fast bowler to take on short pitch bowling. That could definitely factor into it, because those selections definitely look like they're geared towards inform Moeen Ali and how they dismiss him.
And it looks like teams do weigh a lot on these matchups these days, Sanjay. So perhaps it's now not as much, our frustration at teams not being transparent about team news, but maybe it's just tactical. They don't give it over. They give it off until the toss.
Yes, but as Dan said, even as commentators, when you're at the ground, you easily get an idea as to who's playing, who's not playing. You'll see a guy really smiling and having a great time on the field before the match. That guy's not playing. So there are signs.
Every chance that tends to happen, but
unless of course it's Rian Parag, who seems to be always ecstatic being on the field.
Yeah, I think he's a new favorite on social media. Certainly is Rian Parag, and he'll be enjoying himself. Rajasthan won an important game yesterday, but let's speak of where we are in the tournament right now. Right, we're getting to that stage now. We're already discussing that if you've got 4 wins out of 4 like RCB, or even if MS Dhoni manages 4 out of 5 or 3 out of 5 in Mumbai, that sets them off nicely to make the playoffs. RCB, the standout team, you think, Dan, of the tournament? Are there any areas of weakness at all that you see potentially?
No, not at this stage. I think that you could argue that their schedule's been slightly easier than some, but they've still won those games. And teams look at it from the start of the season of how they're going to get to 8 wins, because we think that 16 points generally gets you into the top 4 playoff. And now RCB are in the situation they need 4 more wins from 10 games, and that looks so much better than, say, a KKR who needs 7 wins from 9 games, and that starts to factor into the confidence of the team and the way they carry themselves. So I think they're making selections now based on requirements and what they think they can do to be positive, rather than selections on reacting to a loss. And it's a really good space to be in as a captain, coach, as a playing group, that the decisions are not panicked. They're just about how we're going to get the best on the day. And therefore, it looks like there's 9 to 10 players in the RCB team who are going to play most games, and they're going to make 1 or 2 selections that will alter the team for the benefit of the team, rather than just a knee-jerk reaction to a result.
It looks like
Raunak, we've seen the least number of changes made by Virat Kohli. He's just maybe gone to a Patidar on occasions, and Dan Christian was dropped in the last game. But by Virat Kohli standards, not as many changes, and because he's won every game, that has certainly helped. But there is a weakness. For example, in the last game, thankfully they had a pretty good opening start, Virat Kohli and Padikkal getting those runs. But you had Washington Sundar batting at number 5, and you had Kyle Jamieson at number 6. So that can potentially be hazardous on a bad day. But, Maxwell's form, Kyle Jamieson has been a revelation, and we were all skeptical about his T20, prowess. So on many fronts, you're seeing some, good performances coming through, and tells you about all those, previews that we do before a tournament. CSK and RCB right at the top.
Yes, and since you brought up Kyle Jamieson, no one better than Dan to weigh in on what his first 4 IPL games have looked like. And we thought that the price tag pressure would be a discussion point, and Jamieson, who's never played in India, could be an issue. But he's played at Chennai, he's played here, and he's still not had one of those man of the match sort of days. But he's had a very steady start, Dan, you think, for his IPL career?
I think he'd be happy. I think if you actually watch the games, possibly he hasn't bowled as well sometimes as the figures actually suggest. I know he had that tough game where he went 3 overs for 40 odd, but picked up a couple of wickets. So I think once we get onto these pitches that potentially are a bit flatter, that's when the true test will come from him. But I think so far he's answered the questions that Kohli and the RCB management would have wanted of him, and that's his first couple of overs have been pretty good, and how he comes back and probably in some more pressurised situations when batsmen are attacking him. But I think he will be feeling confident from how he started. I think he would have felt the pressure going into it more than anyone. The conversations around he hadn't played much T20 cricket and he hadn't played in India. Now he's settled all those conversations and he can actually just get on and bowl. And I think that's the best thing. There's no more chat around the price tag. It's just about his performances.
What about Chennai on the other hand? A loss in the opening game to Delhi and then 3 wins on the trot. Couple of them pretty easy against Punjab and Rajasthan. What impressions do they give you at this stage of the tournament, Sanjay? Chennai Super Kings.
Little different from last year. And you can see that Dhoni is thinking different. I mean, the blunder that they made last year, and that's why they started off so poorly, was they went with just 5 bowlers, if you remember, in the first couple of games, with Jadeja being one of the 5. So they just didn't have an option as a 6th bowler. But now they have 6, if not 7 bowling options. Plus they have a lot of batting depth too. So subtle changes. Faf du Plessis is always going to be somebody who would get them runs. So his failures on occasions didn't really matter. The big concern and the talking point were Ambati Rayudu, Suresh Raina and Mahendra Singh Dhoni. And it's not like they proved everybody, the skeptics, wrong by playing superbly. I think they're still showing signs of being rusty, but CSK have managed sort of to have a little bit of a detour from those guys and still find a way to win. Faf du Plessis has taken the load. Good call to just keep backing Ruturaj Gaikwad despite his early failures. He got runs in the last game, and Moeen Ali was a big factor. So today will be interesting when Ambati Rayudu and Suresh Raina will come in when the pressure is on.
It's probably a very important way to start the new season, given how last season went for CSK. First ever season to not make the playoffs. Dan, they're a team that's so used to getting their calculations spot on, playing at the Chepauk, winning a certain number of games, and then bringing their experience in the playoffs. Now that they've won 3 out of 4, even if they lose this today, 3 out of 5 in Mumbai, which we wondered whether it would suit CSK, they only would take this, wouldn't
Yeah, I think they'll be very happy, and I think it's been very Chennai-like in terms of keeping Gaikwad at the top of the order after 3 failures. Yep. I think the thing that's changed, like Sanjay mentioned, was the manipulation of their middle order and realising who's in form, and who warrants to be batting at a particular time. And that's where they've been so successful with the likes of Moeen Ali and also using Sam Curran at different times. So when you sit back and watch that team, it feels like the Chennai of old. And the player probably that we're not talking about enough is Deepak Chahar. I think he's given them so much impetus at the start of an innings that's changed 2 games, if not more, so far in their season. And so his bowling has allowed some probably lesser performances from like Shadul Thakur, but his bowling, his wicket-taking ability has set them up for a lot. And that, with Moeen Ali's all-round performance, it looks like it's the Chennai that we all know.
Yeah, it's a fair point. And let's discuss Deepak Chahar a little more. Sanjay and me discuss a lot of Deepak Chahar, but not enough perhaps on the show. So let's do that.
And not enough about his cricket maybe also.
Absolutely, because he's such an active social media influencer. Not only CSK boys are. So we like Deepak Chahar. I love him. Anyway, let's have a look at Deepak Chahar also through our Upstocks Crick Index, which gives us a better understanding of the ups and downs in the cricketing world, just like the trading world. And as we discuss players, Sanjay loves this. You can see the Upstocks Crick Index scroll through your screen, where you'll get an idea of which players' ratings have gone up or down based on performance. And Deepak Chahar, right up there on cue, is looking good at a stock that's on the rise. And for a player who's actually...
And how much percentage is that? That also is significant, right? How the rise...
See, I don't invest in stocks because I don't have enough money.
Can you break down the algorithm, how they get to those numbers, Raunak?
Okay, now this is... have a look at this name that's right there in the center. Virat Kohli, they've got him down on stock. I mean, now that is something that will get
70 not out.
And Virat Kohli fans riled up.
So come on. Let's be fair. This is taking into account performance by performance. You know how the stocks work. They essentially go from day to day.
70 not out's not enough.
Yeah.
Ruturaj Gaikwad's stock is up. So see, it's only a reflection of
So 3
one
failures and 1
inning.
success, and the stock is up.
One innings, one inning. It's about timing. It's all about timing.
Oh, Dhoni,
Now
look at
let's
Dhoni's down 50%.
all right.
Now Shardul
Now,
Thakur may be up.
This is exciting. I'm
no,
enjoying this.
no.
Let's do this.
Shardul Thakur is accurate. Look, these are all adding up for me. I don't know why you
No,
guys
no,
look at
Harshal,
it makes a lot of sense. On a serious note, Harshal
348%
Patel.
up.
Yeah.
Okay, Sanjay, come on, let's get serious now. Harshal Patel, Deepak Chahar, some unsung heroes, and I saw your point earlier, even a tweet that you put out. You're very happy for a lot of these Indian fast bowlers having a big say in these first 2 weeks of the tournament.
Yeah, because there was this, fascination that I couldn't understand because there was no cricketing logic to it. That you had this young, very talented raw fast bowler being fast tracked in one of the most difficult tournament for fast bowlers. T20 cricket on small grounds, and the Nagarkotis, and you had Mavi, then Tyagi, and all these guys in a Saini. An India player has struggled to come to terms with the IPL challenges. So nice to see Harshal Patel coming in. Siddharth Kaul played in the last game. You'll see him on a slow pitch tomorrow, making his value felt. Shardul Thakur is going for runs, but I think come the crunch game, you'll see him starting to make an impact. So I'd like to see the same happening with batsmen as well. There are a lot of these under 19 guys that are fast tracked into IPL cricket, not necessarily because they are, excellent T20 prospects, but just this thing about, having a young talent out there in IPL, that also doesn't make sense. So along with these, hardened seam bowlers that who have done so well in the first class 11, I'd like to see more batsmen of that kind with 50, 70 first class matches, not your in-your-face T20 batsmen, but still guys who can soak in the pressure and deliver like these seamers have done.
I mean, it can be no better year to make an impression than just before the big auction. And the Indian players, you think there would be an appetite for Indian players at an auction more than these smaller auctions where you tend to have the overseas fast bowlers off late at least pick up a lot of money. And as you look at the stock of a player like a Deepak Chahar, I mean, if I put you on the spot now and ask you to retain a Deepak Chahar for next year, I'm not so sure if CSK would. There are other players they'd look at. So nothing better than having performance after performance this season, I guess.
Yeah, it'll be a big part of the tournament. I think people will try not to talk about it, but in the back of their mind, they'll know that a performance this year sets up for the big auction, and it's or being retained. And for young fast bowlers, young Indian fast bowlers, they're so important to a franchise because of the way that they can balance out team selection. And the other thing is also the World T20 World Cup, which is in the back of a lot of players' minds. Deepak Chahar could force his way into that starting 11. There's a few others there. They could do the same thing. So there's a lot going on. And when you're involved in a winning team, it just all seems to happen a lot easier. And those conversations aren't going on, but you're doing well enough to be rewarded by the end of the season. It's the teams that are losing that these are the conversations that happen more and more and more. And they can sort of undermine a lot of what the team's trying to do.
I quickly had a look at Jadeja at the bottom of the screen. His stocks are down.
He's not been retained.
Why do you do this? Anyway, Ravindra Jadeja, who has actually had a good record against RCB in the past. So maybe after today, that stock might go up. All right, let's keep this going. But this was actually a great way to look at how players are doing, and make sure you continue having a look at www.upstoxcricindex.com. You can keep following how things are going with these players and their cricket index right through the course of the IPL. Right, let's also put Dan and Sanjay's cricketing IQ to the test. It's Sanjay's least favorite part because I'm asking quiz questions now, but it's time for our Intel Fastest Fan first. Now, you did get a glimpse of Sanjay having his memory tonic just before that.
Yeah, memory plus for over 50.
Let's take our first question, and we have a fan asking us these questions today. Let's go to Neha Bhatnagar for question 1 out of 3.
Hi everyone, this is Neha Bhatnagar and it's a pleasure meeting you all virtually. Today I'm looking to get answers of 3 questions. My first question is, which Chennai batter scored a 50 against Bangalore in IPL 2020?
Okay, so Dan always with the
Raunak.
IPL 2020 just zones out. He took a break last year from the IPL. Sanjay, would you like an educated guess on this?
Chennai batter who got a 50 against RCB in UAE.
Yes.
Against RCB, Chennai batter. Sam Curran.
Okay, the answer, you could have actually gone educated guess here. Ruturaj Gaikwad got most of the half centuries last season. It wasn't a good
But
season.
towards the end, wasn't it last season?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. When we had zoned out in a way because CSK season looked like it was just on a way down. But
Come
that's
on,
a
Neha,
different
if you
season.
want good answers, good questions should come through.
Right, Neha, let's try again. Here's question 2 out of 3.
My second question is, which overseas player has made his IPL debut this season representing the Bangalore franchise?
Okay, it's a absolute dolly. Okay. Sanjay's hand is up. Yes, Sanjay.
No, does Dan want to go? Because I know this,
Come on,
I'm very
Sanjay.
confident.
No, I think this
Kyle
question's up
Jameson.
50%. This is raised. This is a good question.
Kyle Jameson.
No, you go, Sanjay. It's all yours.
Absolutely, absolutely. Keep having that tonic. Kyle Jameson's a sitter.
This track, I love this track.
Yeah. Our
The
producer
Emperor's
Sukhetu can
track.
put it on loop for you. You can keep playing it at home, and in case you need a little pep talk or
They
confidence.
should have it during our analysis time as well. Any good analysis? Hey.
What makes you think they don't? And there's a reason they've not played it. Anyway, let's go to our third question.
My third question is, how many 4-wicket hauls has Deepak Chahar picked in IPL before this season?
Wow. So he's got 2 4-wicket hauls already this season, but how many did he have before this season? Sanjay? You're saying 1. Okay, Dan, do you want to have a crack at this?
Oh, am I part of this? Sorry, I didn't realize
you
I
are.
was. I'd say 0. I'll go 0.
That's a good answer. You know why we tend to pick these questions. So Deepak Chahar, who has the record, of course, for India in T20 international cricket,
Are you sure?
and has 2 4-wicket hauls this season, didn't have one before this. So anyway, that was our Upstocks. That was our Intel fastest fan first. So well done to Neha. Big thank you to her. And that's time for Sanjay Manjrekar and Dan Vettori. First over already underway. Siraj has new ball and he bowled well last game. We'll pick up the chat with both of you in 20 overs time on Maruti Suzuki Presents ESPN Cricket Info T20 Time Out, powered by Intel. So do join us then.
We call it people technology.
インテル入ってる